There's a Gemara in Yerushalmi, I forgot where it was, maybe Peah, not so sure. So the Gemara in Yerushalmi says that there was one Chacham, I forgot his name, I read this a long time ago. There was one Chacham, he was the biggest Chacham when it came to business. He understood diamonds and business and jewelry like top. But what? He never was able to make money. Never was able to make money. He was always a failure in business. One day he went to Eretz Yisrael, I believe the Gemara says, and all the young Talmidei Chachamim were all getting positions of rabbinical positions, and some became chief rabbis there, and they were able to have parnasa from it, and they were able to sit and learn and be able to support their families normally without having to, think about parnasa when they're actually learning. And it says he was a bigger chacham than all of them. He never got one position in his life. Rabbi Yochanan said about him, right? Rabbi Yochanan said about him, "Lo lachachamim lechem." Those people that are bright and wise are not the ones that are going to have the parnas. What does that mean? The Gemara says there, he was a shlam mazel. The Gemara says a bish mazal. He didn't have a good mazel. And that's it. Some people, this is what it is. They can have all the talents in the world. They can be very smart, very bright. They can know everything. But at the end of the day, because Baruch Hu directs a person based on where he's supposed to be. Some, person's mazel was not just, he was born at the bad moment or wrong time. His soul needed certain things in life to come to its completion. Your soul has coming to this world to come to a tikkun. Your soul has a tafka that needs to fulfill. And sometimes there's certain things you can change, and sometimes there's certain things that you can't change. The Ramchal says later on, there's two different mazalot that a person has. One he could change, one he can't change. But we're not going to get into that now. Right, so let's continue what he says over here. He says over here, so we know that our tachlis in life and our tafkid in life is to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's one thing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, that this emtsa'i, how you say it's a good word for emtsa'i?
Middle path.
Middle path? No, emtsa'i.
Means.
Means. Very good. There's one thing that is the means for us to get to the purpose, and this is the most powerful means that there is in order to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's that? Talmud Torah. Talmud Torah. There's nothing more powerful than learning Torah to bring a person close to Hashem. Nothing. V'hu b'shtei b'chinot. What does that mean? Echad b'chinat higayon, right? V'alimud. One is the b'chinat higayon v'alimud. What does higayon mean? He says higayon is dibur. Right? He says, look in Mitzvah Tzion and Tehillim over there. Right? Higayon sometimes is used as machshava, sometimes it's used as dibur. Right? So we're going to use it here as dibur. What does that mean? Dibur, when you're learning Torah with dibur b'peh, and you're sitting and you're learning, that brings a person to the vekas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'ashniya tu b'inyan haskala, understanding how much you're able to tofes. Ki hinei ratzah b'chazoy dvarach v'yichubana chibur dvarim. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in His great chesed, compiled for us a compilation. The way HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Chochmah deemed it to be fit, and that's how He goes there. And He gave it over to us. Vayinu Klal Sefer HaTorah, which is the Klal Sefer HaTorah, the Sefer HaTorah that we have. It says there's 4 different chalakim in Torah, right? There's Kabbalah, which is Olam HaTzilus. There is Gemara and Torah Sheba'al Peh, which is Olam HaBriya. And then there is Mishnayos, which is Olam HaTzira, and then there's Tanakh, which is Olam HaSiyah. The question is, how can it be the Torah Shebichtav, which is the God-given Torah, the Chumash, is Olam HaSiyah, the lowest of all worlds? How does that make sense? If anything, it should be Olam HaTzilus, no? So the Kabbalah right that the other way around. The fact that Olam HaSiyah is the Olam where all the Klipot are, and that's where the Birurim are the hardest, so the Torah Shebichtav is the only thing powerful enough to make the Birurim in Olam HaSiyah. It's a fantastic chiddush. Right? I heard this from Rav Frank Goldstein. Right? It says, Vayinu Klal Sefer Torah v'achlav Sefer Nevi'im. Then we have the prophets, which is also the history of Klal Yisrael. Besides, I think the Sefer Nevi'im is the biggest Musar Sefer and the best Hashkafa Sefer that ever existed in the world. Right? You want to have real Hashkafa and real Muslims, Mamish Nevi'im. You read go through
more than Sefer Dvarim?
Unbelievable. Nevi'im is unbelievable. And learning Nevi'im is such an eye-opener to everything. It's unbelievable. Right? What is the segula of this Devarim? Learning Torah, which is Sefer Torah and Nevi'im, right? What is the segula of learning Torah? That a person that learns Torah, right? B'gdusha of Ta'oram. What does that mean? With purity, with kedusha, right? You can't be somebody that's lacking kedusha and lacking tahara, like they say that sometimes they ask. I think that's what Chaim Kanievsky. A rabbi isn't going to the mikveh b'tul Torah. He says no, the other way around. When you go to the mikveh in the morning, Well, I'm going to add this. The Orach Chaim writes there's two things. One is not an avera, one is not a mitzvah. Right? Going to the mikvah is not a mitzvah, right? But he says it purifies you more than anything, and anger is not an avera, but it's natami you more than anything. Adrabah, he says when you go to the mikvah, it's mitayri, it's mikadesh you to be able to learn Torah on a much higher madrega, to be able to have much higher hasagas. The Baal Shem Tov writes the reason why he reached such high levels in Ruchni is obviously because of his Torah, is the Gadol in Torah. But because he was able to, he always went to the mikvah and he always davened b'simcha and he davened with the vekas, right? Constant tahara. When a person learns Torah b'kedusha tahara, it elevates his quality in ruchnius and learning to a different darga altogether. Ala kavanah nechona, what is that? With the proper intent, not only to learn Torah, b'kedusha tahara, but also to learn Torah with the proper intention. Shiasiyat chefzo yitborach, in order to do the ratzon Hashem. Rav Kaduri writes in a Sefer Musar, he has a Sefer Musar, very harsh, right? I shouldn't say harsh, very extreme, and very like hardcore, right? It's the people that really like, he writes over there that you should do tshuva every day before you learn Torah. B'machshava at least. Why? He says if a person doesn't do tshuva before he learns Torah, there is a tzad, there is a chance that the Torah he will learn will go to the Sitra Achar Chas v'Shalom. Right? And he says when you do tshuva before you learn Torah, your Torah goes to kokulo to kedushin. I think he brings such an idea. Right? Not the only one that brought it. I saw all the others for also bring Chashiv Svarim, not just. But what your intention of learning Torah has to be to do the Ratzon Hashem. When you do that, when you learn Torah b'kedusha v'tahara and doing the Ratzon Hashem, יתעצם בו על ידם מעלה עליונה שלמות גדול עד מאוד. You hear what he says? You will מתעצם. What's a good word for מתעצם? It means עוצם, like powerful. Strength. Right? We need to say that the Torah in its powerful strength will elevate you and bring you to shlemut in your neshama so great like you won't even be able to imagine. וכן מי שישתדל בהבנתם, right? Even the more so a person does ishtadlus in understanding Torah, ובדיעד מה שמסר לנו מפירושים, and to understand the מפורשים, and to learn with proper iyun yasher, not just sitting being mepalpal dvarim b'telim, right? But actually learning and breaking it down clearly and being separating and putting things the way they're supposed to be and putting things together the way the mefarshim bring it, yikne kefi ishtadluto shlemut al shemut. According to his ishtadlus and his avonos Torah, he'll acquire more shleimus and the shleimus. Whatever that means, I don't know how you have shleimus and shleimus, but I just think he's trying to tell you that the shleimus that he's already achieving will be to a much higher darga and his ruchnias, right? Which is his devekas by Hashem, which is connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. People think devekas by Hashem is I don't know, the guy suddenly starts to fly and he starts to disconnect to the world. The next thing you know, he's going to be flying in a carpet over the ocean, right? Right? It's not what devekas by Hashem means. The devekas by Hashem, the way the Seforim bring it, a person, for example, is davening, right? He has such a strong connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu during davening. They say that even the air around him changes and the air around him becomes very thin. He's able to smell the smell of Gan Eden and his devekas at tefillah. Ad kedei kach, does dvekas come into place. Not only that, a person's ruchnius becomes so sensitive to his dvekas that he becomes a different bria and hagasha altogether. Dvekas is a big mila, but to get to that, you need to. That is the way the Seforim bring it, right? And there was one of the Rebbes. He says that when Shabbos used to come in, he used to feel his extra neshama come inside of him on Shabbos, and he used to feel a tremendous difference in his ruchnius, right? I heard even people tell me even today, they tell me that their senses change completely on Shabbat. Right? You see, there's a certain taharas and nefesh that a person has. Right? So it says, even the more so, if you're going to understand, not read, not think you understand, but you understand the sodot of Torah, the secrets of Torah and the Kabbalah of Torah. I remember once many years ago, I spoke to Rabbi Shadaron about learning Soid, when to start and so on and so forth. He told me, whatever you do, make sure that you learn from a Rebbe that has a good Messiah. Right? You can't just pick up a Kabbalah Sefer like you see so many people today, that they go ahead and just pick it up, and the next thing you know, they make Nisiyum, they think they know Kol Torah Kulon, when the truth of the matter is, they never learned anything. Rav Yehuda Fataya says, in a Sefer, he says, Al tiyeh kisus kiferet lo havin. He brings a pasuk in Tehillim, right? Don't be like a sus kiferet lo havin. Don't be like a horse and like a parrot, which is like a mule, that doesn't understand. What does that mean? It says, Al tiyeh kisus, don't be like a sus, which is the samech. Don't learn the samech, the soid, before the parrot, which is parrot, pshat remes drosh. Why? Ki lo havin. You won't understand it, right? To understand Torah, It has to be a darga by darga, building a shleimus hanefesh. If a person doesn't have the shleimus hanefesh needed to understand Seidas Torah, he will not understand Seidas Torah as much as he thinks he will. Right? So it says, even the more so if you come to achieve understanding of Seidas Torah and the secrets of the Torah, shekol inyan mehem she'eskil, right? Any Inyan that you will come to understand in Kabbalah, Yigba v'yit'atzem b'nishmatro madrega mina madregot hayoter ramot sheb'ma'ala v'shlemut amiti. You will instill in yourself, and your neshama will go up in its madregas to the highest of all madregas. The highest of all madregas can only be achieved through learning Yisod, through learning Seidas Torah, the Kabbalah Torah. Not only that, I know a very big Talmid Chacham. I want to mention his name. He got smicha from Moshe Feinstein. He posted everything called Torah, and he knows Kabbalah on his fingertips. He told me that when you learn Seidas Torah, learning Soid itself opens your mind, gives you such a Rechoves Hadas that even when you learn Pshat, you learn Pshat on a completely different level because of the Yediyas HaSoid that you know, because of the tremendous aliyah that you get. It's a fantastic thing, but what? It has to be real, has to be a real Kenyan, not just a guy who thinks he learned the whole Zohar and doesn't understand. Even though there is an Inyan to that, but it's not what he's talking about. But he says clearly, right? Yagia el haskalat zitrehem, to understand it. And imagine even the Arizal, how many Talmidim the Arizal had? And what did Arizal say? Only Rav Chaim Vital understood him.
Wow.
And imagine. And we're coming, we say, he says this, we're all Kabbalists. We say this is Kabbalisti, right? We're all Kabbalists. בכל אלו העניינים, לא יודע מה שקונה אדם מעצמו מעלה שמות, right? Not only with all these things that we mentioned, that a person himself elevates, a person himself grows, a person himself comes to the shleimus, אלה שמציאות הבריאה כולה בכללה ופרטה מתעלה ומשתנה מפרט על ידי התורה. The whole essence of the whole creation of the whole entire world elevates itself, it gets elevated through you and comes to shleimus through you, especially through learning Torah. So now we'll stop over here.